Top Game with your host, Sandy Castro. For episode 2, we have Joyce and Darry Cross, MSgt Darry Cross. Thanks for tuning in. So where's this whiskey from?
This is Oregon. It's like a Canadian blend. It's pretty good.
From Oregon, huh? I'm gonna use it right. Leave it right here. So for episode 2 of Top Game, I had the idea to actually sit down with some of our new cohort, the group of Master Sergeants that were recently selected this year, fiscal year 18. But when appropriate, when available, and when they were open to it, to include the wife in the conversation. So I'm glad that Joyce is willing to sit down with us and have this conversation, because I'm a firm believer that I would not be even a fourth the Marine that I am had it not been for Liz. And I think that applies to a lot of us. But what do you think? With the understanding that she's right here in front of you, what impact has she had on you as a professional?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. If you don't have somebody backing you up, there to support you, whether it be, taking care of the things at home. I can tell you she's the banker in this house, taking care of the bills, the finances, whatever. And then, even more so, these guys that's got children, 100%, I think it's hugely important. I'll say everybody's going to have the rough, that rough patch,
right,
somewhere down the line.
Of course.
We definitely had some boulders, that we had to work our way through. But yeah, absolutely, I wouldn't be sitting here at this table today if it wasn't for her. Guaranteed. So
what does it mean to you, the fact that you've made it to the point of being a Master Sergeant of Marines?
I don't know if I ever saw myself here, getting to this point, but I'm a pretty firm believer that I can be successful where I'm planted or whatnot, but going back to having her at home or whatnot, I had full intentions on EAS and getting out, moving along.
What year?
When we left Texas, 2010, I was ready to be done. I was going to move along.
And what year did you come in?
03.
03?
Yeah, 2003.
So, and I say this a lot to junior Marines, and I have said this a lot to junior Marines over the years, but you came in knowing you were going to combat.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a given, especially in the Marine Corps. Me and the guys that came in around me, I came in 99, and I had an instinctive feeling that we would be in a dust up before too long. Had no idea what it was going to be like. In this many years of sustained combat between Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere. But in 2003, things were still pretty heated, and you enlisted anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. Being in high school, not trying to toot my patriotic horn, but you see all the stuff going on after the whole September 11th, all that deal, and then I was ready to get involved. At that time, obviously, I had no idea which way it was going,
right,
or where exactly I was going to with it. But I already had it in my mind what I was going to do.
And where's home for the Cross family?
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Kentucky. I grew up in southeastern Kentucky, and then Joyce, she's from northeastern Kentucky.
One of my favorite lines from the movie Last Mohicans is when the British officer tells the colonials, he says, "There's a war going on. How is it that you're headed west to Kentucky?" He says, "It's real easy. We face north, and real subtle, like we turn left." I've seen that movie I don't know how many times.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty great movie. But yeah, like I say, I kind of already had it in my mind what I was going to do. Hadn't really been too much military involvement in my family for the generation before me. Not to a great extent, but I'd made my mind up already, and I would have probably been in the Army, to be honest with you.
Really?
I was in an Army GROTC program, talked to Army recruiters.
Oh, so you were all in and even in high school.
Yeah, but the dude didn't call me back.
The dude didn't call you
and,
back.
Marine Corps recruiters.
He was on the spot.
He was on the spot. He got me quick.
Hustle and grind.
Yep, never let up.
Right.
And absolutely wouldn't change a thing. But yeah, he came at me pretty hard, and I was ready to roll with it. And here we go, 15 years. We're sitting here at this table now.
Right.
Just recently promoted to Master Sergeant. Pretty happy about it.
How's that make you feel, Joyce?
I don't know. I guess happy.
Yeah.
There's worse things that he could be doing, so.
Yeah.
How hard is the transitions? How hard have the transitions been over the years, going from duty station to duty station?
Some harder than others.
Yeah, Joyce she's a family girl.
Right.
So.
And you're from Kentucky as well, I presume. Same hometown?
No.
Took Camp Lejeune to bring us together.
Really? Right, because if I recall correctly, your whole family is Marine Corps.
I got 3 brothers in the Marine Corps.
3 brothers in the Marine
One
Corps.
just retired, but yeah.
Father, uncles.
My dad was in the Army.
Okay, what does he say about his?
He tried to talk him into
Boys
the
going
Air
into the-
Force.
Your father was in the Army. He has 3 sons in the Marine Corps, but he tried to talk them into going in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
That's a father looking out for the welfare of his children.
Right. Yeah, you talk about a sweating corporal.
Right.
When I met her,
Was her dad still in when y'all met?
no, her dad was not, but
Her brothers
her
were.
brothers were what at the time, staff sergeant, 2 gunnies,
2 staff
2 staff sergeants and a gunny, and
And you were a corporal.
here comes old corporal.
Well, how'd y'all
Collins.
meet?
Yeah, between a bar and a rodeo. So mutual,
mutual friend.
yeah, mutual friend. A friend that we
Who's
we
this
both
friend?
knew. Guy by the name of J.D. Brody.
J.D. Brody.
Yeah, he was a MP back in the day. Had gotten out, stayed around Camp Lejeune. One of our brothers knew him pretty well, and
And how'd you meet him?
Rodeo.
at the rodeo. He pulled gates. He was a gate man at some of the bull ridings we were going to back then.
Were you riding bulls back then?
I was. Yeah, I was eating more dirt than I was riding, but I was getting on a bunch.
So you were active duty, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Wow.
2nd Radio Battalion, and you're riding bulls on your off time.
I was. We would.
Did you have to sign a chit for that, or ask for special permission, or?
So I did not. I'll tell you how. I remember a gentleman at the time, Lieutenant Brand, I believe Major Brand now.
Yeah.
In the reserves down there in
He's a good
Texas. Definitely a good man. He's the only person that ever questioned what we were doing. And some of the units, a lot of the guys were with some of the air wing units there at Cherry Point.
Right.
And we had sort of, came up with our own system to get around that a little bit. And we'd go to this, what we call a riding school, some of the more senior guys that really knew what was going on. It'd be a day or 2 of like kind of instruction, and really it was just getting on a lot of bulls. But along with a certificate from there at the end of the day to say that you kind of knew what you were doing at least, and agreeing you'd wear your vest, and some of the guys even had to wear helmets. Their commands didn't have problems, but at the time, Lieutenant Brand, he's the only one questioning what we were really doing, and you know, it turned out all right for us. You know, we didn't ever really have any problems. Knock on wood. None of our the guys we were running with really got hurt too bad. But yeah, I used to have some of the staffing show folks back there at Radbend. I mean, they'd come to some of the bull ridings that were close by and come watch.
I asked because around that time, I remember George Lockhart got in trouble for fighting.
No, see, yeah, you're exactly right. I think one of the things maybe that helped us a little bit, you know, we were kind of small town anyway, especially then, and there weren't a whole lot of people there around battalion that were super associated with rodeoing and, you know, going to these shows and stuff. So the fact that we kept everything a little quieter, it helped us out.
Don't get caught, kind of thing.
Yeah, we used to pull. You know, if we could get off by 1600 on a Tuesday night, we would. You know, I'm not condoning this by any means, but we would haul ass to Raleigh, and on a Tuesday night, there's a place called Carousel Farms, and they had a pretty neat little bull riding there. And, we'd all get on our bulls. If nobody made the short go, we'd turn around and come back.
What's a short go?
Basically, so everybody's going to get on one or two head, and then you're going to take your top scores out of that. Or if they don't have enough people to make, you know, to have scores, they'll draw you back on time, basically. So whoever stayed on the longest. But anyways, that's going to give you a whole nother round of bulls to get on. And nobody made that, we'd haul it back. If somebody did, we'd all wait and hope somebody made a couple dollars. But it was a good time either way.
I've done some crazy shit in my life, but I don't think I would ever have the gumption to get on top of a bull that size and hold on for dear life. How big are these animals?
I mean, you know, you got a pretty big range there, but you're looking at, you know, somewhere between 1,400 to 2,000 pounds. You know, you got some small ones. Usually, small ones are a lot faster.
Right.
It can really throw some kinks at you, and then you know, the bigger, a lot of times they're just going to have a lot more power. But you know, kind of on that note, I took a bunch of young dudes, you know, guys at the unit or the battalion or whatnot, and took them out to like practice pens, you know, places where we go just to get on some practice bulls and such, and they never got anybody hurt. You know, nobody's not going to put them on something crazy, super rank,
right.
To start out anyway. But I've been able to tie, you know, quite a few dudes into getting on bulls. You know, just recently, one of Sonny's guys, I took him. There's a place here on the island, believe it or not.
Bull riding in Hawaii.
There's a guy raises some pretty rank buckers right here on the Oahu, and I took one of his guys down there. It's only been a few months back, and you know, people here, especially you get these guys that are in for a thrill or rush, you know what I mean, and
right.
You know, they hear about that, and that's the two things I can talk about all day is rodeo, bull riding in particular, and bass fishing, and you know, I get to telling a lot of stories. We go on deployment or whatnot, and everybody hears me talking about it, and they're like, "Hell, I want to try this out." I got you, buddy. I got you. Just wait till we get home. I probably shamed a few people into getting on some too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to apply peer pressure from time to time.
Every once in a while.
Do you use the quintessential no balls?
No. I'll tell you this story.
Like the Marine Corps triple dog dare, right?
Yeah. No. We used to kind of play a little dirty, but we go to some of these little honky tonk bars, you know, round base or whatnot, and you see all these dudes all decked out, and they might have a pretty girlfriend or something like that, you know, and you know, we just kind of prod them a little bit, and you know, agging the fact, not saying it to their face, but agging the fact on of, hey, you know, you got the outfit, but do you got, you know, you got the sand to back it up, basically,
right?
And especially when we were over there in North Carolina, we're probably pretty brutal.
A lot of Coca-Cola cowboys.
Yeah, and you got the dude standing right in front of his girlfriend. What's he going to say?
Right.
And the minute you say you get him to nod his head, you say, "Guess just so happens we're going tomorrow." You know, up to where it'd be Goldsboro or.
You don't walk into an L-shaped ambush, didn't even realize it in front of his main squeeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just like, you know, just like the Marine Corps though, you can tell pretty quick when somebody is actually kind of knows what they're talking about, or they don't.
Right.
You get it brought back to ground zero pretty fast.
So it's funny that you mention that, because I've said recently at the MEF a couple of times when we're having conversations with some of the staff out there, when you might be one of the only battalion representatives on the line interacting with hire, I've had to warn some of our peers and also some of our seniors that they can't sleep on old Darry Cross.
All right.
Because he comes across as what someone else would deem to be just some slack-jaw yokel. I said there's a lot going on up there in that man's head. He's probably one of the sharpest individuals you run across in uniform. And I've known you for quite a while, and I'll say that to anybody. But what got you to that point?
You know, I've always kind of been not super outspoken.
Right.
As far as a lot of times I try to sit back and listen a little more, and just kind of. I get put sometimes in an uncomfortable position when in a conversation when I don't know, you know, when I feel like I'm not up to speed and shouldn't be in that conversation. So I try to basically I'm not gonna go lock horns with the dude unless I'm a little bit pretty sure of myself. I don't.
You make it sound like there's a lot of confrontation that takes place in the Marine Corps.
Well, we know how that goes. Disagreements come in every direction sometimes, but you know, to the point. It's kind of funny you brought this up, especially of late. Every once in a while, I've heard people kind of talking my name up a little bit, and you know, then on the drive home or during decompression that day or whatnot, you know, kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, "Ooh, you know, that's a little pressure." You know what I mean? I got to make sure now that I can live up to that. You know,
you ain't a gunny no more, homie.
Right. To make sure that you know, you can live up to that reputation, because you may not be the one broadcasting it yourself, but somebody's out there for sure talking, you know, talking about you, whether that be good or bad. You know, we've heard, I'm sure both of them go both ways for
Right.
different guys we know, but yeah, I don't know. They make sure you know what you're talking about. That'll get you a long way. Be a professional as far as in the job skill and your skill set. Trying to learn as much as you can and do the best. You know, do the best with what we have, because we know a lot of times we definitely don't have the greatest gear, that's out there, or the most high speed or whatnot. But being professional with what you got, knowing the gear that you've got, knowing how to use it, that'll get you there from the job aspect, I think. And then dealings with people. To me, I think that's a plus for me.
Right.
On a nickel or a feather in my hat, nickel in my pocket or whatnot. I think I can usually deal with people pretty good. You know, you'll quickly find out the people to. You know, it always goes back to, I keep going back to that, people that know what they're talking about. Surround yourself with those people. I've been very fortunate for
Dime
that.
con quién andas y te diré quién eres. I said that to Sonny the other night. And he was like, what? I said, you tell me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are.
Yep.
And that's something that's resonated with me since I was young, and I heard my grandmother say that to me. And it's always made me conscious of the company you keep. And that applies in a lot of ways to our professional lives, right? But Marine Corps is different in that, you know, the guys you associate with and you surround yourself with, not only will they have an impact upon your professional development, but also your personal growth as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons why I've worked, to be honest, to stay close to you, because Darry Cross to me has always been one of those guys that I just got to shoot straight with. I can't. You mean because you've known me for so long? I can't be dishonest. I gotta be true to you, to me, and to our friendship. And if I ain't got enough to help us make board, I'll let you know. It's like, hey,
Right.
I maybe got one and a P.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think that that'll get you a long way too. Everybody's not going to come into the shooting match knowing everything, and all along the way you're going to find there's going to be times that like you said, you come up a little bit short, but don't try and shirk around that. You know what I mean? They let it be known, and again, if you're surrounding yourself with those right people, chances are they're going to be able to add to add to your game there. But
So for you, who are some of those right people?
well, yourself for one. They like I said, we went way back. I think I was able to pick up a lot from you along the way.
I appreciate that.
We're talking about Sonny.
Yeah.
A true professional in the game.
Yeah.
When
One of the first times I met Sonny, he had just got back from a shooting package, and I hope he listens to this. It just laughs his head off. And I was going to see a common brother, and it was through this Marine, Joe Weldon, that me and Sonny got to really know each other. Friend of a friend kind of thing. And they had just got back from a shooting package, and Sonny was just enamored with his skill set, this recently acquired skill set with his 9mm. And I remember saying over and over again how he was a gunslinger now.
Oh yeah.
We were young sergeants back then, still coming up and trying to figure out our way around the battalion. But yeah, Sonny is one of those guys. But who else?
Let's see, John Ward, Master Sergeant Ward.
Oh yeah.
He's we've kind of been following. Me and Joyce have been following. We call it the Ward train. We've kind of followed each other around quite a bit the last several years. Had orders to recruiting duty in 2010, and luckily, knock on wood, I didn't want to go. So I say luckily.
You and me both.
He was moving along he got picked up for the internship program. Left a hot field open.
For you guys, it's called MOSAP. Is
yep.
that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
the military operational signals analysis program. But he'd got picked up for that out there in Colorado, and he was with the Q squadrons. They were about to go to Afghanistan, so at that time, Monitor Master Crawford gave me a shout.
Crawdaddy.
And he said, I heard you didn't care for those recruiting duty orders. I said, no. I said, I'll take whatever you got. He said, well, how do you feel about Afghanistan? Followed up by Cherry Point for a while. And I said,
I would go to combat before I go to recruiting duty.
I said, okay. I said, sounds good to me. I said, when do you need you need an answer? He's like, no, I'm glad it sounds good. He said, because I got your order sitting right here in front of me. So, yeah, Afghanistan looked a little better at the time than, absolutely better than recruiting duty for me.
It's funny you mentioned that. Recently, I was up on Okuma, which is one of those military recreation facilities north of Okinawa. It's run by the Air Force, and our party included some senior staff NCOs, master guns, gunnies, master sergeants. And of the group, I was the only one that had not done a special duty assignment. I'd done a tour at an embassy, about a 3-year tour in the Dominican Republic, but no recruiting duty, no drill instructor duty, anything along those lines. But these guys were all recruiters. And to sit there and listen to them tell their war stories of how that duty will break you off.
Yeah.
if you're not careful. Makes me tip my hat to those that get through that successfully.
You know, I fully agree. At the time when that was all taking place, Joyce's brother, her youngest brother, he had just came off of recruiting duty, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said if he had to do it over again, he would have done something to get him disqualified. Take that for what you will.
Right.
But it was all he could do to hang in there with keeping the family, keeping everything straight on that side, plus with work. Everybody hears that horror stories. It can make you or break you, the recruiting duty, and the same can be said for the drill instructor duty as well.
So I've heard recruiters say that drill instructors have it easy.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
programmed for them.
Yeah, that's probably true.
They're on a tight structure, tight schedule. I mean, there's no. I mean, there's some creativity, but there's no real thought into what needs to get done.
Yeah.
I don't have an informed an opinion of the matter because I've never done either. But I can understand that perspective because for the recruiters, they've got to make mission.
Yeah.
Every single month, and you're only as good
Yep.
as the preceding month.
Yeah, I think the most interaction I've probably had with some of those guys were like at Advanced Academy, back at the career course, at Staff Academy, and all that. It's definitely like you said, those stories. Some of them are brutal, but then you get some folks that I guess guys that can sell sand at the beach kind of dudes, and you actually meet quite a few career recruiters at places like that too. So,
Right.
Some people end up liking it, but I think the majority would tell you they just as soon stay here or take those orders to Afghanistan.
Okay.
Going back, it's just kind of funny. We were telling stories the other night, when we were at the staff club wing night.
Right.
I was thinking when I got home, Joe Farina, he's another one that I think now he's he's a lieutenant colonel now?
Is he a lieutenant colonel?
Major, lieutenant colonel?
I don't
I'm not
know.
sure. He's about to retire.
Right.
I do know that, but as a young Lance Corporal,
Right.
at Second Radio Battalion, going to the MU.
So you were on a MU with him.
I was. He was ended up being the AOIC. So he had he was Sergeant Farina, RRP.
Right.
And then went through the program, came back as second lieutenant to battalion there, and the first MU that we were on, or that I went out on, I don't know. I picked up a lot from him. I think.
Right.
Again, it's you just got to keep putting that one foot in front of the other, and keep moving forward. Whether that be in your skill set game, in your people game, in your PT game, or whatnot. Yeah, one of the funny things he always used to say, he'd come by, check to see what you, your team, your guys were up to that day.
What you working on?
Yeah, what you working on? And his slogan was, because it's got to be, you got to be improving, because while we're sitting here doing this, Osama bin Laden is laid back doing flutter kicks hooked up to his kidney dialysis machine. So that's one of his slogans. So
Flutter kicks on a kidney dialysis machine. That's funny.
Because the folks that you're going to find yourself up against, they ain't slowing down. So I think person just remember that you can't really slow your game down either, because the guys around you, are brothers, but they're not going to slow their game down either.
Right.
So, like you said a while ago, at some point you're going to find yourself in competition with the guy next to you to an extent, and just always trying to grow. Like I said, whether it be personal or in I guess your knowledge and your skills in your job.
So how do you stay competitive? Speaking on that.
Drinking this whiskey's probably not helping me. Probably not helping my. It's
better than beer.
Game. No,
right?
That's true. But I don't know. I've really tried to, the farther we go along, oftentimes we see a lot of guys, separate themselves from the group as far as let's talking like PT wise or whatnot, and not go out with the Marines every day. You had the conversation. I think you've recently got back into really slinging it and going through the trenches with the Marines or whatnot. But just trying to keep that game up to an extent. It's been a little easier for me to, I guess, in some aspects, up until now, up to this point, it's been a little easier to stay a little bit ahead in the. So I'm an ELINT guy by trade, right?
Right.
We've obviously
What's
lost.
ELINT?
Yeah, right. We've obviously lost faith and touch with what ELINT has been over the past several years, but oftentimes, we bring up a conversation and people are like, "What are you talking about?" So just being able to stay relevant in that game, because it's going to become back around and be relevant again. But going through the internship and
So you did the
trying to
intern.
keep-
You did MSgt too.
I did.
Okay.
So we followed the ward train into the internship and then out here, to Hawaii after that.
What made you decide to apply for that?
Chief Warrant Officer Molnar basically telling me he was going to kick my ass if I didn't put in a package for it.
So
Yeah.
I've met Molnar. I
Yep.
think you could take him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Next time we
He
run
seems
in, we might have to
scrappy.
lay down.
He seems scrappy,
Oh, yeah.
but I think you could take him.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. He was one of the instructors in the schoolhouse down there when I came through, and kept on and off touch with him over the years. And then
No, he seems like a solid dude. I met him for the first time recently in San Angelo. We were out there doing a learning analysis for the 2691 MOS producing course. And him and Chief Warrant Officer Mush, apparently they were like the heavyweight champions of jumbo Jenga,
yeah,
right? At this little spot that I guess traditionally our counterparts head out to whenever there's a big conference or working group taking place in San Angelo, and so they go to the spot and they've got the Jenga blocks all set up, and it became kind of like a chief warrant officer versus master sergeant competition.
oh, yeah.
And I guess the challenge, the gauntlet was thrown down sometime early in the during the TAD that Molnar and Mush were undefeated.
Oh, they're the champs.
Yeah, but
And he let everybody know too.
oh yeah, they let
Yeah,
everybody know. They made mention about it several times, and of course, Marines being Marines, and Mass Sergeants being Mass Sergeants, Scoggins and Simmons stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. Here we go.
And so I'll hold off on the reveal of how it played out, but suffice to say that they're no longer undefeated.
Right. Yeah, he's a. I really like him. He's a solid individual, solid Marine. Out there after I came back from Afghanistan, the Cherry Point's a difficult place for us 26s.
I've never done a tour with the wing, so I can't
Yeah.
I can't call it.
I'm not a huge fan. The relationships out there tend to be a bit different, but with the air crews and stuff like that.
Right.
But either way, after I came back, he actually was the OIC for Q3 for the SIGINT guys.
Okay.
And I was just staffing to OIC, so I got the opportunity to work with him for a couple years, and I really enjoyed it. He's a good people person, kind of a funny guy, so to speak, as in, make the back. If a situation is bad, he's going to be the one to make light of it, and I think all the Marines really look up to him. So I definitely I can add him to the list.
Right.
Definitely took a lot of things
Of influences.
from him as well.
So Speaking of Chief Warrant Officers, why did you not put a package in for the Chief Warrant Officer program? You look at Joyce and you're smiling, and she's giving you this grin that's going from ear to ear.
Yeah, Joyce is laughing at me about this one. So she really wanted me to. Her brothers all kind of recommended that I do it as well.
But I mean, to be honest, not to shoot holes in their game, but they don't really know
That's true.
what a Chief Warrant Officer is and what a Master Sergeant is, at least in our occupational field.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. Because we are the Marine Corps, but our game does play. Our game plays a little different than your average 5-card draw in the Marine Corps. But I don't know. I went to through MOSAP through the internship program, and traditionally a lot of the Marines that had been through that program did put in warrant officer packages, either directly after or as soon as they did their 3-year payback. And I came down here still a little bit undecided.
Right.
And I talked with Master Guns Bergeron. He wasn't, he said it's kind of up to you, whatever you want to do. But he said he could sure use, because that had happened so heavily, he said in his mind he felt like we could use somebody staying on the enlisted side, in the Master Sergeant realm. Right. That had came through the program as well. Me and Joyce talked about it. She was kind of up for it.
But what was the determining factor?
I don't know. When I got, as we changed the game and I saw that I had a pretty good shot at the Master Sergeant route, I did not. I'd rather play my skill set and my game from, like you said, from the E8, the enlisted side, versus where the Chief Warrant Officers in our field go. Because initially you're gonna come back from Mobic, and you're probably gonna be the SEMO for one, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But you're gonna start back at the bottom, and we'll say the bottom. Like I said, it's something we gotta have, and I don't think there's really much more of a right person than at least the folks we got here that have been involved in it. But you're gonna start down there, and then the interaction, I felt like I would have a more direct influence, a more direct interaction with the Marines, staying on the black side, with the Master Sergeant route. And again, like I said earlier, I'm kind of a people person. I like having direct interaction with Marines. Right. Because that's what it's all about. It ain't really about how much I know. It's about how much I know and can pass along to them. Right. That's kind of what really makes it play. I just felt like I would have more opportunities, and that route was a little better for me. And
did you ever drop Fs on any fitness report?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think we had this. Me and you were talking about this the other day a little bit. It took me a long time.
Did we?
I'll put it this way. It took me a long time to appreciate the rank of First Sergeant.
Really?
It did. It absolutely did. Joyce can probably tell you.
So who was that single person that made that impact upon you to change your mindset?
It's actually been real recently. It was actually here at this battalion, to be honest with you. And I can't really say one in particular, but a couple, and I can definitely name those. First Sergeant Woodby, Amatep Woodby, and First Sergeant Ramos, Alfonso Ramos. You probably met him maybe last year.
I did meet Ramos. And I do know Woodby.
Yeah, I think they've had. So as they came into battalion here, I had just came in as staff in CIC for the 31st MUDET out of here. And that's a lot of more of a company gunny type First Sergeant role. You find yourself doing a lot more of those tasks.
You did that as a gunny.
Right, as a gunny. Then it really is, there's as much of that as there is operational standpoint, I'll put it that way.
Right.
And, I'm talking with them, all the time via whether it be the phone, email, and then when we got back here, working through issues that some of the Marines had or whatnot, and actually getting to sit down with them. And while I was out there, I actually enjoyed some of that. Whereas I thought, I'm an operational guy. I like, let's go do some SIGINTs, some ELINT, whatnot, but I actually enjoyed that a little more, and really, I guess it kind of drove home where
you needed to be?
Where I needed to be. So I think if I was going to give advice, I think you could be a blend of that and be better off.
I've always, and I said this probably to a fault at the school when I was in the schoolhouse in San Angelo. You got to be a little bit of first sergeant. You got to be a little bit of master sergeant as you're coming up in the ranks. It can't be either or.
I think you're right.
For me, the first sergeant that had me thinking about dropping Fs, even back when I was a sergeant, was First Sergeant Holler.
Oh yeah, First Sergeant Holler.
Yeah, he had just checked in the battalion, and that son of a bitch, he sat down with every single Marine in Alpha Company and ground fought with all of us back to back.
Oh yeah. He was dang sure something. Joyce has an interesting story with First Sergeant Holler.
Yeah,
she got yelled at for walking on the grass
Stepping
one.
on some grass.
yeah. Stay off the grass.
Stay off the grass. He was big on
I
that.
had no clue where the freaking guy was coming from either.
Yeah, well, he could sit in his office there.
Yeah.
And it was like he had eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah.
He had
I
that
just
front
barely
office.
stepped on the corner. Get off my grass!
But yeah, no, I think I think I would agree with you. I think he was definitely a good man. At that time, I probably wasn't even thinking along those lines too much back then when I was working there for him.
You may not know this, but I came in at 23, so by the time I was a sergeant, was it almost a little over 3 years in, 26, a little bit older than the average sergeant in the Marine Corps at the time, or at least newly promoted sergeant. And to a certain extent, my understanding of the gun club was centered on the fact that I was going to do this until I couldn't do it anymore. And so I learned quickly to assess, identify, select, recruit, and retain solid mentors, because I knew that was how I was going to be a more effective leader, a better Marine. And First Sergeant Holler was one of those guys that I latched onto quickly, and was always, growing up, I would say, peeping game. Yeah. Right? Getting those observations, those lessons learned that I thought I needed to have in order to be an effective leader, because the last dude I want to be is that sergeant or that staff sergeant or just that Marine that the junior Marines looked up to and dismissed completely. To a certain extent, I had a certain amount of professional paranoia to be incompetent.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen that enough to know that that's not who I am. That's not who my father raised me to be. That's not who my mother raised me to be. I come from a family that takes a certain amount of pride in not only your name but your work ethic, and I kind of took that to heart, and I kind of saw J.D. Holler as being one of those guys to kind of help me along those lines. But there were master sergeants and master guns that were at the battalion around that same time frame that I learned from as well.
Yeah.
Guys like Master Guns Hartman.
Oh yeah.
And of course Master Gunny Owen, aka Gecko.
Yeah.
Really good man.
We had a run in here a while back.
Who?
Me and Master Guns Owen. So it was just a funny story. But I stood CGRI, and it was it's been a few years, but Bravos. So my tie was a little bit too long, and we did this like the first day, maybe the second morning, and he let me have it all week about having my tie too long.
Too long?
Yeah,
How long was it?
It was too long. But by the time I realized
You didn't answer my question.
yeah, right. Yeah, by the time that I ended up getting there, I was in a class as well as in a program out there in Denver. But I was in a class, and by the time I came over there, it was too like I legitimately was going to retie the knot, and there's a big old kink right here. So when I adjusted it, basically it wasn't flat and smooth. So I took the gamble of smooth and pressed tie, a little bit long, or proper length and kind of jacked up, quirky looking. I don't think either one. I wouldn't have been able to get either one of them by him, but no, just funny.
So
funny story.
you're one of those Marines that keeps your tie not intact.
Oh yeah, way more than I should.
So not me.
Oh, you tie it every time?
I tie it every time. But bear in mind, the years that I was with DIA and doing that embassy tour, I was wearing a suit and tie every day. And so, for me, it's like butter.
Oh, yeah.
It's just smooth.
Yeah, I could use some practice. I might have to get my ties out and practice a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. Something you said a minute ago kind of struck a little chord, talking about, not wanting to be somebody that the Marines look up to and then completely write off, because we all know those people. We know way too many of them.
Yeah. I was telling this to Sonny. There was a master sergeant at the career course when I was a staff sergeant that told me the Marines are always looking at you for a sign of weakness.
Oh, yeah.
And it's up to you to determine what you show them and what you don't. You can show them that you're human, and you make mistakes, and you correct them, but it instilled in me a certain amount of professional paranoia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So me and Nick Watson, Gunny Watson, we were talking about this the other day, and I think if it don't hold true, I think it should hold true with if there is something that keeps you up at night, it ought to be worried that knowing that you're in the spot where they can't question you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what you're talking about. You're not giving it, because those junior Marines, they're like a pack of wild dogs. They'll eat you alive. If you show them a weakness, they're gonna start hacking on it. But no, we were talking
Like
about
sharks in the water that smell blood.
Yeah, and that's one of the things he said. He said that's the only thing that ever bothers me is just being afraid. Did you leave a gap in your game? Did you leave a weak spot in your game's defenses, basically? And that's what I say. Just trying to always keep up with the times, keep up with what's going on.
So how do you keep up? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you studying?
I would say I'm watching the news, but I recently stopped watching the news.
Why's that?
Because I came home and I'm not big on the news these days, because all the arguing over stuff that, in my opinion, in my mind, it really doesn't. Yeah, maybe it does matter. The subject matters, but the arguments don't make any difference. Because they're going to argue whether.
You talking about the politics and the
politics,
beltway?
yeah. They're going to argue whether we're going one way. Somebody else is going to argue we're going this way. So I've kind of just stopped that. I get all my the early bird. I get the early bird updates. That keeps me up to speed on anything that are on the most of the stuff that I really care about.
What's the early bird?
This is, I don't know, every morning. I forget who even puts it out now. We used to be able to get it on computers at work.
Okay,
But
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's an email that they send to my personal email now. You can Google search early bird. It's going to keep all the military defense type politics stuff. It's going to spit out articles every morning.
Okay.
That's where I get my news from nowadays. But I read a lot. I probably don't read I read a lot of history.
What do you read
history
now?
type books. Right now?
Right now.
I got 2 books in the works.
Two books.
Two books. One of them is I'm a little bit behind the times here, but a book called Killing Pablo.
Okay.
About the hunt for Pablo Escobar. I've had it in my Amazon shopping cart for years. 'Cause it's
Mark Bowden.
yeah, Mark Bowden. It's a lot of folks in the community, talk pretty highly on the book. So I've had it in there for a long time and just never had got it. So it came in this past week. I picked it up. I've read, I don't know, I'm a third way through it or so. Read that one. Then I'm reading what's his name? I don't even know the name of the book. This is a guy, B.J. Cox. I don't know. He's some kind of if you ever watched the show Longmire on TV, it's similar.
Longmire.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's a game warden in Wyoming. It's a fiction book, but I read a lot of westerns, Western history, cowboys, Indian stories, pushing cows up the trail. I don't know. It just helps me decompress, I guess. But
We talked about a little bit of this off mic, and I kind of want to circle back to it because I think it'll paint a solid picture of who Darry Cross is. We were talking about the Western movie genre, and I explained that, me growing up in Texas, my grandparents, Tilo and Lyncha, they had, 5 children. The first 4 were boys. Their first 5 grandsons, within a time span of about 4 or 5 years, were all boys. And we used to spend long weekends and summers up there with Tilo and Lyncha, and he'd always throw a Western on, and we'd watch it. And some of my favorites were the Cowboys and the Sons of Katie Elder, and and occasionally he'd watch some of the TV shows like Gunsmoke and you name it. But these new generation Westerns, they're a little bit different, huh?
they're tough. They're hard to keep up. They've got to really bring their A game. When we were talking, I said, I think one of the reasons it's so hard for them to make an actually good Western nowadays is because the general population, society, especially in America, for the most part, a large percentage are so far removed from that world. It's just hard for them to keep up. Every once in a while, we come across a good one though.
Right. So what do you think about military movies?
Military movies, I would say they're a little bit more difficult to. The action's still action, it's still good, but I think we can kind of catch things a lot of times, that we know or things don't necessarily play that way.
So what have you seen that you thought was dead on accurate?
Dead on accurate? Oh, now you're gonna put me on the spot here. What's some good new ones? I'm trying to think the last military movie I actually watched. Let's see, we watched Lone Survivor.
What did you think about that?
I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's not all the guts and glory or whatnot. There's a lot of sadness and loss, honor stuff that that kind of goes along with our game too. If you get put in those type of situations, I thought it was a great movie. It had a lot of action to it, but then at the end, it's one of those movies that when they start playing the pictures, the pictures of the actual people, it's hard not to fight. Kind of fight the maybe a little bit of tear trickle in it, out of the corner.
Right.
Because we watch it, we think it's just a movie, but somebody lived that, and obviously, I'm sure there's probably portions that they may have dramatized or beefed up a little bit for the movie portion, but I think they did a pretty good job portraying the fact of you're losing your brother next to you.
If they ever made a movie about Darry Cross, who would be the actor?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any of these young new guy actors. I'm not a big fan of most of them. I can't pick Sam Elliott. He's a little bit too old. John Wayne's
You don't have the mustache for Sam Elliott.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know who the best new guy would be. Who do you think, Joyce?
I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
What'd he play on? Oh, yeah. I don't know the guy. He's Eastwood. Scott Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's, what, is it his son?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll take that as a compliment. My wife told me.
Scott Eastwood, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could go back in time and sit down mid-deployment with Sergeant Cross at the smoke pit, you wouldn't necessarily have to be smoking, because I know you're not a smoker, you're a dipper, but
Oh, yeah.
but just to have that one-on-one time. Let's say I give you 2 hours. What are you going to tell him?
Probably maybe be a little bit more bold, a little bit more, cocky's not the word I'm looking for, but have a little more self-confidence. I've been put in situations at times that had I spoken, I told you, like I was talking about earlier, about I've kind of always been, sit back, kind of in the corner, kind of person not big to speak up a lot of times, unless it's needed, but or the right time. But I think if I was a little bit more forward, that would have brought forth a little bit more self-confidence, a little bit more outspokenness. I would have gone back, back to like our time together. I would probably have pushed myself. So back then, let's go back for a minute. I was thinking pretty hard about, they had just stood up the MSgt game. You and I were talking about this a little bit the other night. But I was probably a little bit timid in that move. But if I could go back to that point, what was that, 06 time frame, 07, I would push myself a little bit harder to go that route. Maybe get it. And again, I'm not, I just, like I said the other night, I think a lot of those guys that did go over there, went the MARSOC route, I think they're going to be heavy hitters in our field for a long time to come.
Definitely.
And some of the opportunities that route brings you it's going to make you or break you. You're either going to become a professional from it, or it's going to burn you out and run you over. And because they dang sure have more than their share of opportunities to put the game to work. But I don't know. I would have definitely went that, pushed myself to maybe go that route, give that a little bit more of a try.
So it sounds like there's a little bit of a regret there.
Maybe a little bit. Sometimes I look back. I think more recently I've came to, when you get to a senior gunny, or now newly promoted master sergeant, when you get to this point, I don't think it's quite the same. It's not quite as important or quite the difference or whatnot where we are now, because we all got our own experiences. But I would say if it's something you're interested in, do a little bit more looking into it than what I did, because I do sometimes wish that I had went over when a lot of those guys did. We came back off that one float, and probably
2008.
2008. There was probably, how many of those guys went over? Probably five
Quite
or
a few
six.
of them. Grosso was one of them.
And it wasn't all RRP. Ryan Miller, that was the first float, but he went over right when we got back. Master Guns Doucet, he went over right when we came back off that first.
Actually, Doucet was
float.
already over there when we were going out. They were
Right.
actually attached to us.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Initially.
So between that first float I did, that first deployment, and then the one where you and I were together, that's when the most of the folks started really going over. But I don't know. At that time, it was probably the way it ended up was probably better for me. I had, I guess, on a personal level and family level, we were kind of going through some things, and we got those orders down in Texas. I think that was one of the best things that happened for us to take us out of the
Operational
situation.
tempo.
Yeah, and took us out of the situation we were in at that time, which hanging out with some of the wrong people I shouldn't have been hanging out with.
Tell me about it.
It put us kind of on a little bit of a rough path for a little while, but
You talking about Marines?
Marines and just people even outside of work. I say this quite a bit, but
You talking about North Carolina or San Antonio?
oh yeah, no, when we were in North Carolina.
Okay.
So you can be a pretty dang good person, and have a strong character, strong faith, or whatever words you want to describe it with. But if you hang around the wrong people long enough, they're going to start rubbing off on you.
Tell me who you walk with. I'll tell you
Yeah.
who you are.
Yep. Yeah, we keep it keeps coming up, but yeah, they.
So with that, have you experienced and had to work through any adversity from a professional level? An adverse fit rep, problems with height weight standards, or
No, I've.
physical fitness, or just maybe caustic leadership.
I've been fortunate. I mean, I've never had adverse fit rep. I'm not a great runner. Running's something that I have to do on my own in order to stay in the spots where I need to be. I'm a line rider on the weight sometimes. They probably the last 5 or 6 years. I'm take or give 5 pounds from max, and there's been a few weigh-ins that I had to go to the gym and sweat a little weight off my ass before I hit that scale a couple times. But so I have had to work through that, and it's definitely it's not worth doing. It's not worth being miserable. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you have these guys that some guys, beefcake dudes or whatever you want to call them, that play the tape game all the time. That's not for me.
Right.
I would much rather. And some body types, you really don't have much of a decision, especially you start hitting 30s, have to work a little harder, and I'm sure it's going to continue. But
who you talking to? I'm in my 40s.
Right, yeah. But for me, it's not worth playing that game. I'm fortunate enough to be able to keep myself, even though I'm close, I'm fortunate enough to be able to keep myself to the left. Caustic leadership, I think you're going to run into those folks almost everywhere you go. There's going to be somebody there that that is on a different page than you are.
Yep.
Whether it be one of those first sergeants like we were talking about earlier, whether it be the direct leadership, the master sergeant, the chief warrant officer, the officers you got to work for. I think there's going to be somebody there all the time, but that can be. But again, for me anyway, just keep doing what I know how to do. Try and make the best of situations, not to think. Try and influence that person. If you absolutely think they're wrong, or at least in my case, I'm going to try to sway them. You know what I mean? To come more in the lane where I think we ought to be. Had a lieutenant. He's a great guy. I worked for a little while, but this cat was his emotions drove him. So he acted on emotion, basically, we'll say. And the dang sure wasn't going to play very well. So Lieutenant and Gunny had to sit down and have a chat because we're not the only ones to see that. Those junior Marines definitely see it, and they're going to be the ones 9 times out of 10 that are going to be more impressionable and pick up on that stuff.
And they'll respond to it.
Yeah, more so than we are.
It has an impact. I learned something from the Coast Guard over the years, and I had a couple of Coast Guard attachés with me in Santo Domingo, and then I had some coasties that worked for me when I was in San Antonio. A lot of respect for the coasties. They have a unique mission set that requires for them to adopt almost a Marine Corps type like approach to leadership. And one of the things that I heard one of the lieutenant commanders say was, if you're the senior man on the boat, you never run. You never run, because it makes the crew nervous. They see you sprinting, and you're in charge. They say, or you know, in this aspect, they see you becoming emotionally wrapped up in the situation, overreacting, not being steady at the wheel. It has an impact, and a lot of times, those of us in leadership positions that lose sight of that can generate a certain amount of turmoil and unrest in the unit, and there's nothing to be gained from that.
Yeah. I agree with you. For dang sure, they I don't know, as far like that being impressionable or whatnot. One of the things I kind of pride myself a little bit on is usually, at least from the view I know, I'm sure the Lance Corporal Underground has a lot of nasty gram stories, but I think, at least I foresee most of the Marines that work for me or have worked for me that I work with. I think most of them would say that I'm a pretty good person to work for or to work with. I try to look. So here we go again. My view of thinking in the first line of thinking, which obviously has changed and I guess adapted some, but I've always tried to come into the situation that, whether it's the junior Marines or the senior Marines or whatnot, respect's got to be there. It's got to be given, but
Right. It's a two-way street.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. But I put my let's go back. I put my britches on the same way they do every morning. You know what I mean?
Right.
Tie my boots up. So I have, and I've been criticized at times for giving, especially junior Marines, giving them probably more leeway than what a lot of people would have. But I almost, as a person, we're equal until you prove me otherwise. You know what I mean? Again, I've used the analogy of the light switch sometimes. Personally, it bothers me not one bit for somebody to call me by my first name. In our ball game, we don't do that.
Right.
So they got it. You got that light switch has got to be there. You know what I mean? But they're just kind of putting us on the level. Probably giving them. Joyce gets on to me sometimes. She says I give them too much slack sometimes, or I was the guys on the watch for until this past fall. Basically, I was the top ward. He's the chief there, but I kind of ran the.
You're the hammer.
The hammer, the handler. There we go. I was the handler for all those guys. So I probably give a little bit more leeway than a lot of folks or a lot of guys, a lot of Marines would. But like I said, that respect piece is a two-way street. If you expect it, I think you dang sure ought to be held up. Holding up your end and giving it as well.
Makes sense.
But yeah, like I said, there's a time when that light switch comes on, and and I'll tell them this. I'll tell them straight. You've got to know when that is. You know what I mean? When it's game time, it's game time. There ain't no room for nonsense. And I don't get pissed off very often either.
But when he does, he does.
But,
What were some of your favorite duty stations? or your top two?
Top two? Oh,
Yeah.
this is tough. So Denver, Aurora there at Buckley. Can we even call that a duty station? It's like the.
It's like a vacation.
It's like a vacation. It's an awesome place.
Right.
Kentucky's my home, but
You could retire in Denver.
those doggone Rocky Mountains kind of became home.
Joyce
in my
is
heart a
shaking her
little
head.
bit.
Not
Yes.
necessarily Denver, but Colorado.
Yeah, and
But you could retire in Colorado.
Yeah, we could. I really like San Antonio. Who doesn't like Texas? But Joyce didn't have a great experience.
There's some
when we moved down
people I've come to
Yeah, no,
understand
you're right.
that don't like Texas.
Yeah. Joyce
you have a
didn't.
big ego to live in Texas.
You have to have a big ego to live in Texas. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
But we had a good time down there. And I really like it. Like I say, Joyce didn't have the greatest of experiences, and kind of set her mood and set the tone for it.
San
off
Antonio,
the bat negative.
the crime is bad in San Antonio, and we talked about this a little bit before. You had some negative experiences with car break-ins and whatnot. A lot of that is predicated on what part of town you're talking about.
Yeah.
Elizabeth and I lived on the northeast side in the Stone Oak area. I essentially did a shape pool and overlaid the great schools scores for all of the academic institutions in the area with the going rate for rentals, because we weren't looking to buy in San Antonio. I didn't know how long I was going to be there, and I wanted to kind of play it safe and just rent. We found a great home in a private gated community right there on the northeast side. It was really close to a jiu-jitsu gym.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out that gym closed down, so we ended up finding another one that was even probably a better fit for us with Maha Sinki, Sergio Correa, phenomenal instructor. So, when we could get there, school and work schedules permitting, it was a great spot that the boys and I could continue our training for jiu-jitsu. Church was like not even a mile away from the house, so we actually got really involved in the church there. And one of the cool things that they did was, me being Catholic, right, because I'm Mexican and I don't know any better, they had at the Catholic church there, they had a teenage mass for the teenagers. Teenagers had like reserved VIP seating in the middle, and all the families and stuff on the side. So, and the message was directed at the children. But that kind of brings me to my next question: is like, how religious is the Cross family? And has that helped you kind of get through your time? If so, in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I would say yes. I grew up Baptist. Like it's not, hey, you want to go to church? It's your mom and dad telling you, get your tail in the car, get up, you're going to church, right?
Sunday best, right?
Yep. So I think probably a little bit of rebellion, against that a little bit when I came in the Marine Corps. Kind of steered away from it, veered off the right path for a long time. When we were second trip to North Carolina, we started going to church a little bit there. Then we moved to Colorado. We made some really good friends and got more involved with the church out there. By no means were we saints.
Right. No one's perfect.
But trying to improve on our standing and draw a little bit closer to being on the right road. But
So you're still Baptist?
I wouldn't say directly. We kind of, when we went there, it was actually completely like non-denominational.
Okay.
Out there in Colorado, and then it was a Baptist church we went to when we were in North Carolina. We did go to the Baptist church there, but anyway, when we were out there, it was completely kind of just didn't have any politics to it, so to speak. But then when we moved, we came here. We didn't go get back into church. We started watching videos of, for a while, we watched internet.
From where we was going to church.
Yeah, from where we were going to church in Colorado, they played it on the internet.
Okay.
We just recently,
I never really thought about that.
we have not, like I said, we have not gone to the church, but we've recently got involved with a Bible study group here on base on Wednesday nights with a really good group of people. And, you know, again, here we go back to one of those main points, the surround yourself with the right people. And I think they, at least in my opinion, I don't know how Joyce feels, but I think it has helped draw us, swing us back to following that compass a little better.
Right.
Just to, becoming better people, more right with God, and along those lines.
Have you guys ever tried any of those MCCS retreats?
No, we actually haven't. I don't know how many times I've read through them, and then I just dump them in file 13 or something like that. But I think I would encourage everybody to probably check them out. Matter of fact, I would enjoy checking them out. It's just always one of those things. I read them, look at them like, oh, sounds like a cool idea, or and a good reasoning and thought behind it. Just never have done it.
So, funny story. Elizabeth and I got engaged while I was in boot camp. The senior drill instructor gave me the abnormal opportunity to make a phone call when he was taking me to go get my anodized brass. He bought me my anodized brass for my blues, because back then not everybody was issued their blues, but I was the platoon honor man. So Gunny Crane, for whatever reason, decided his guide was going to be wearing anodized brass on our graduation, and it always stuck with me. But on the way back, he asked me, he says, "You want to make a phone call?" I'm not going to say no. And it was at that point in time I called and I spoke with Elizabeth, because it was during the Thanksgiving season, and I proposed to her and asked her to marry me. She had written me 2-3 times a day, every day, the whole time I was in boot camp. And we'd been dating for almost a year before me going, but when I enlisted and took off, we kind of left things unspoken. Like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, I was more fixated on, my career in the Marine Corps, knowing that I wanted to do 20, right? As a recruit, I was saying this, and of course, the first sergeant and the drill instructor's like, "You don't know what the fuck you're talking about," but here we are, almost 19 years later, and I was right.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be for me. So we got married right after I graduated from boot camp. She was there. She flew in for my graduation. Little civil ceremony. A family friend who was a county judge married us, and but later when we got to DLI, because she followed me after MCT, and I checked in DLI, and I was there for a good while before she actually caught up with me towards the end of her school year. And we were planning a year later to get married to the church. That was the agreement that I had with my father-in-law. Like, you can get married in a civil ceremony, but you got to get married through the church.
Yeah.
Like I said, see previous statement about us being Mexicans and not knowing any better about the Catholic Church. And I say that in jest because I'm still Catholic, but at the time I wasn't confirmed, and I didn't get confirmed until years later. But that's another story. But part of the requirements for the Catholic Church and for the Marine Corps detachment was that we had to go through this marriage retreat. And so we go in, and it's at San Luis Obispo, right outside of Monterey, California, and they make us sleep in separate rooms. But we're already married. I got a house in base housing,
right.
163 Okinawa Road, of all things.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really put 2 and 2 together until just now, because we were stationed in Okinawa. But so we're we're in separate rooms and we're going through this marriage retreat, and there's breakout sessions where you're talking with just the men. You're just talking with your significant other, your wife or your fiance, and then certain sessions where all the couples are together. And I will say that it was a fundamental experience that Elizabeth and I had, and I learned things about her during that process that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. And it kind of pulls you out of your normal routine and forces you to kind of examine the nature of your relationship. And I know you got a good woman. I mean, it's apparent. I walked into this house and like I told you earlier, I mean, it feels like a home. And I know for a fact you wouldn't be where you're at were it not for her. But, just like anything else, there's always room for improvement. So,
Right.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'd recommend taking a look at those retreats, and definitely would recommend encouraging your junior Marines to take advantage of them too, because although they might not be for everybody, I think that there's a lot of good to be had by those experiences.
I think the same has been said. We were talking about being involved with church and religion or whatnot. I think all the time that brings us into learning something new about each other. I don't know how she feels about it, but just the conversations that that those things bring up. You know what I mean? I think they all the time sharing thoughts and ideas that we have, as individuals,
Right.
that we oftentimes don't think about, together or in normal conversation or whatnot. But yeah, no, I think they're great. They're probably it would definitely be a really neat thing. Maybe next time I get the email, I won't slide it over to the delete box.
Just delete it immediately.
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing against the talking marriage. Oftentimes, of course, you kind of know our story, but I was one of those guys. I was that corporal. They are probably in a lot of them. That's a Lance Corporal decision, but good old Gunny, Master Sergeant retired now, Weintraub. I'll never forget the look on his face. He's like, "What the hell did you do?" We were like, how many days out? 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days out from deployment. We had been on pre-deployment leave. We were already engaged, but our intention was to wait till we got back.
Right.
When we came back we were going on the MU. We knew we were going to Iraq, or that was the game plan anyway on that first trip out.
And
So,
this is what year?
this was in 2005.
Okay.
But our intent was to wait till we got back, and we were going to, like you said, get married with church, or with a preacher, like I shouldn't say church, but we were going to get married more the religious route, right? Traditional route. One night laying in bed, I just I don't know, I had an epiphany. Call it what you will, but I was like, this is a dumb idea. I was like, if I'm already in my heart trust her that I'm going to marry her when I get back, we're engaged now. I was like, I'm going to be
Why wait?
This could be a little bit honest, a little bit brutal honest here, but I said, why would I wait when I'm about to have 6 months worth of pay that could set us up for our future? I mean, that sounds bad, right? That sounds bad. So I can see why he said, what the hell did you do? You know what I mean? I can definitely see where they're coming from. But
the truth comes out.
yeah, no kidding. I should tell you. So the next morning, I got up and blasted her. It was probably like a pie in the face when I said that to her. I was like, let's go to the courthouse and get married. And sure dang enough, that's what we did. We were too nervous. I was even too nervous to call her. We lived in her brother's house with her brother.
Right. Who's your best man?
We didn't. Chris McCarthy, a friend of mine.
Marine?
That was there. He was a Marine at that time. He's out now, but
Chris McCarthy.
I was too I was afraid to ask her brother to be a witness, right?
Why?
He was home yet.
Yeah, he was home. He was absolutely home because he said that day, he's like, "Why- if you just told me, if you just asked me," he's like, "I'd have came down there." But, you know, Corporal, he was the gunny then.
He was a gunny.
He was a gunny. And
A gunny.
I was-
You come down here and witness me marrying
Yeah.
your sister.
so I was too nervous to do that. So we
But
did
you had
that.
already asked the family, right?
Yeah, I asked her dad, and oh, that's a funny story too. Me and
Please share.
we got out of work. We had been, I think we had been in the field, you know, the East Coast Mew workups, how that plays out. In
Right.
the field, out of the field, in the field, out. Me and Matt Grossel, and
I love that man.
me and Matt, what was the other dude's name? Doggone, I can see his face. McCracken.
Okay.
Remember McCracken?
Yeah, I know McCracken.
We called him Big Earn, but that wasn't his name.
Big Erm.
But McCracken, we were standing on the catwalk of the 2nd Radio Battalion Barracks, and we were eating, of all things, these little Tostino's microwave pizza things. And I told him, I was like, here's what I'm about to do, boys. You know, I was like, and I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. So we kicked a few.
What were you nervous about?
Talking to her dad, asking.
never
I'd
met
never
him.
met him. I had never met her.
You'd
family.
never met him.
Her brothers.
How long
always
had y'all
I'd
been
met.
dating and you not met her family?
Not too long. We didn't.
Okay.
But we really, I guess, what got together, I would say, in the springtime, and then the 4th of July was when things really, I guess, kind of got more serious or whatnot,
Right.
and they, and this would have been in September time frame when I called her dad, and I don't even remember how I got his phone number. I don't know if I
I
asked.
got it from my phone.
Oh yeah, I got it out of her phone. But anyways, we're sitting there, and I was
We got
nervous.
a fact checker right here.
Yeah, I was super nervous. So I was like, I think I might need another one of those Bud Lights. But anyways, I called her dad and I asked him, you know, I said, told him who I was, introduced myself, and I said, I was wondering what you'd think about me asking Joyce to marry me. And he said, I guess that'd be up to her. You know, basically they. So it went way better. Her mom answered the phone first,
Right.
And but anyway, you know, I guess the conversation really went way better than what
What you had
what
initially
I had
worked it up
initially
to
worked
in
it
your
up to
head.
be.
Yeah.
But you know, he basically said that it was her decision, you know, and so we went home, which was another kind of story in itself because, like I said, growing up in a Baptist family, I had never really brought, you know,
Girlfriend's home.
girlfriends home too much. They, so I told my mom, I said, I'm coming home for pre-deployment leave, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a +1's coming with me, and
Wow.
then I told her it was a girl, and I honestly wasn't too worried about it. I mean, at that time, well, I'm sure I was worried about it, but had mom said, no, you're not staying here, I would have stayed with my grandma. You know what I mean? We would have still went home.
Right.
But and I would still took her with me. But anyways, we get home, and I don't know how many days we were there, but funny, kind of a funny situation. We went and had family portraits made that day. That very night, I asked her. We got a pond that's in our yard. It used to be a cow pasture pond that had some really good fishing. So me and Dad decided we were going to make it part of our yard, and we had a little dock there, and we went down there to the pond, and that's where I asked her. But anyways, I don't know what time, 10 o'clock at night or something, we had been somewhere, we came home. But long story short, it was really, my mom felt a little awkward the next day because we didn't tell anybody. None of them knew I was about to do this. We didn't say anything the next morning, and we went to church with them. And we were sitting in church, and Mom saw that ring on her finger.
Oh.
And she said she knew it then, but I told them after that, you know, after church. But just kind of a funny thing, Mom said, she said, if we knew that, she said, we just got our family portraits made. She would have been, you know, we would have included her in them. But
So y'all took the family portraits, but Joyce just kind of
Yeah.
stood on the side and watched.
yeah,
Ah, okay.
but So
Yeah, if I was your mom, I'd have been pissed at you too.
Yeah.
Wasting opportunity. You got
Yeah.
a new daughter-in-law, a new
Right.
addition to the family.
but so that went
How do you
down.
get along with mom now?
I get along with her good now. Before, not so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But now,
it took a
on
while.
top, we text just about every day.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it took a while, but
So funny story. Elizabeth and my mom hung out before I even met Liz. They were friends. You have to remember that Liz is older than me by about 3 years, and my mom had me when she was about 15. So there's not that much of an age difference between my mom and my wife. So they hung out before I'd met Liz.
sure.
Yeah, and so when my mom found out that I was actually dating her, my mom said, that woman has her shit together. She's got a master's degree in education. She's a teacher. She's got a career. She's going places. What is she seeing you?
Yeah. Yep. It's funny. It's funny how those relationships play out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they've had their ups and downs, my mom and my wife, but now that they talk more than I talk to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, so that went on back to me waking up that morning, decided we'd get married. We went to the courthouse, got married. Still didn't tell anybody, other than I think we told your brother that was it that night or a little bit later. Anyway, we told him a little later. But my mom and my sister came down right before we left for the deployment. Yeah, my aunt. Yeah, came down, and Joyce had to work that day, and we went out to eat, and all they're talking about is this wedding we're about to have when we get back. And I said, well, what would you say if we were already married? And so that kind of came out, and they knew that. But then when we came back from deployment, I mean, it played out again. I wouldn't do it any other way now. It played out good because we came back. We had a ceremony. Her uncle, who's a preacher, married us. We had the families come by, cooked a big pig. We had a good time with it. But I will say that if it weren't for her, we know how the game, how it traditionally plays, what the percentages are, right?
Right.
Especially when they get married in that type of scenario. Yeah, I'll lay it. I'll lay nearly all of it to her. If it wasn't for the person she is, we would probably had, we could have easily have been one of those percentage people.
Right.
But I mean, we've been married. We just this past October was 12 years. Been married 12 years and got no intents to change anything.
Got a lifetime ahead of us.
Yeah, got a lifetime ahead. She says, but
So if I'm getting too personal, you can just tell me to shut the hell up. But why have you not had kids? Is that a personal decision, or is it?
No, I'll tell you, we haven't done nothing to stop it. We've more recently found out some potential, maybe some health issues is what's causing it, right?
Okay.
And we've had a couple doctor's trips, but that obviously hasn't worked. So we've actually been talking. It's about time to go back again to try and take the next step.
Okay.
But
I
that's
talked to a fertility specialist.
yeah, it's definitely something we would
'Cause,
like.
I mean, for
we'd
me,
like
that's
to
the only
have.
thing I see missing. Just some little rugrats running
Yeah.
around here screaming, yelling with a cowboy hat and a 6-shooter,
Cap
gun.
I told her for a long time, before we found out that was the reason behind it. I told her, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm still a kid myself. I mean, look at the table right here again.
Right.
I still like.
I don't know whose remote control helicopter
Yeah.
that is, but I don't think it's Joyce's.
I still like toys myself, but then then when we found out, it is kind of a little bit saddens things up a little bit. You found out there's a legitimate, kind of issue behind it, but we'll work through it, and we've talked, and if it takes it, one of these days we'll even look at adoption.
Yeah.
If it takes.
Liz and I have talked about that from time to time, and I think 2's enough for us. Kind of hung up my gloves. And from a family planning standpoint, I just think that it's a solid fit where we're at. I got a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old, two boys. I'm done. I hung up my gloves. I'm content where we're at. But sometimes, occasionally, we've talked in the past about a little girl. But man, and I was telling Sonny this the other night. Little girl would have me wrapped around her finger.
Oh yeah.
Like I told him, there's a young gunny that lives right next to us in the towers there in Okie, and he's got 3 beautiful little girls, and the most precious things on this earth. And when they ever interact with me, Mr. Sam, and one of them, the youngest, I can't even understand what she says because of the way her voice is. But whenever they ask me for anything, I'm all in. Like, well, what do you need? What do you want? What do you want? What do you got? Yep. But my boys, I can be hard on them, and firm and fair. But we play and we hang out and we do our thing. But girls,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what Joyce all the time tells me. So we've got a passel of nieces and nephews.
yeah.
So
And a couple great nieces.
A passel.
yeah,
great
we got
nieces.
we got a sack.
That's not a common word.
No.
Passel.
A bunch. I'll put it
Yeah.
out. We got several, but so we've been able to live, some of that, through them.
Yeah.
But she's all the time giving me a hard time. She's like, gosh, when I was a kid, she's like, it would be twice as hard on her because she said I'd be just as bad as they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like egging them on and everything else. But yeah, it's been super fortunate. When we're close by. We have them over and spend the night and stay with us, all the time. Spend as much time as we can with them. Yeah, but yeah, she's all the time telling them I'd have them too spoiled. But she's just as guilty,
Yeah.
of having them just as spoiled. Ask their mom and daddy. But
It's pretty bad when she was 4 at the time. My brother, he has 3 boys and a little girl, and she's the baby.
Okay.
And the boys were in school, so I was watching her. He was deployed, and the mom's a teacher, and he was deployed, and I went down there, and I was kind of helping her out while he was gone, and her mom went back to New York. And we'd go to town, we'd stop at Walmart, and she'd find her a toy that she'd want, and I'd say, okay, you can get it. And then her mom took her to Toys R Us, and she was wanting a bathing suit, and her mom told her no, she wasn't getting it. She said, well, if Aunt Joyce was here, I'd get it.
She already figured out the cheat code.
But
Yeah.
But I will say, getting married, step one, deploying's tough. And being married, if you're married for the right reason, it makes it that much tougher.
It does.
Being gone. But sometimes I give it to you guys that do have children because that's even another step tougher.
Yeah.
But I've thought about that a bunch. When we get down range somewhere, and I'm like, that's bad enough. I'm missing her, but this guy next to me. Not only is he missing his wife, but
Yeah.
he's got 2 babies too.
So good, bad, or indifferent. The last major deployment that I had was coming off of that mule in 2008, and Liz took a picture of the boys, and they were hanging outside the skiff there at 2nd Radio Battalion, laying in the grass, looking up at the stars, waiting for Daddy to come home. And when I saw them little munchkins, and they were wearing custom designed T-shirts, talking about my daddy's a Marine and this and that and whatnot, I just hugged those boys I couldn't hug them any tighter.
Yep.
And it's tough. It
Yeah.
is tough. But I will say that it's given them an appreciation and understanding of what it is that we do, as being the type of men that will grab a radio and a rifle and go forward, without any clear understanding of what we're going to be up against, and appreciating the fact that we may not come home.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's not about anything other than the Marines to the left and right of me.
Yeah.
And you know, that brotherhood and that camaraderie really makes it worth it. And I hope that one day my boys will understand it. You know, they've had to make sacrifices, you know, due to PCSs and those transitions that come into play. But you know, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to kind of sit down with my peers and press record and kind of go over those lessons learned and some of those dynamics that go into making a life out of this, as opposed to just, you know, one and done. Because it in the aggregate, it changes over time. Your experience from when you're a Lance Corporal to when you're a Master Sergeant. And you learn things in the process, and you meet people along your journey. And I think there's a lot to be gained by this type of interaction. But you know, and you kind of listen to you mentioned that you listened to the podcast that I did with Gunny Sonneman. What'd you think about it when I first brought it up to you?
So when you first mentioned it the other night, I was like, yeah, it sounds like a neat idea, but I honestly didn't give it too much thought or whatnot. And then last night when you sent me the copy of that one over, I was listening to it. Me and Joyce were sitting here talking about it. And I said, that's pretty cool. You know, it's a neat idea, and I think it has value, like you just said. You know, like kind of like what you were talking, because yeah, you know, me and you, we know most. Obviously we're going to know or be familiar with most of the people, at least the folks you have on the list at the moment. But you know, what you said earlier, and you said it in the podcast with Sonny, talking about if me and you having this conversation is not a conversation that the average Joe at work, you know, whether he be a Lance Corporal or whoever,
or even a lieutenant,
or even a lieutenant is going to hear us have. The conversation is going to be totally different. But I think there's value in that. You know what I mean? That I would have listened to it. You know what I mean? Back then, especially if you listen to one, I think you're going to get drawn in and hooked.
Right.
Because you know, one, who knows where it's going to go, but you know, we're talking about some life lessons, some professional lessons that we've learned and experiences we've had where they took us. Talking about like the sacrifices piece, you know, it's going to be a tough road, and the farther you go, the longer you hang in the game, the tougher it's going to get. I mean, we still have minor arguments about, you know, it's 6:30 at night. Why are you not home? You know what I mean?
Right.
Back in the day, I mean, 4:30 came and Gunny or Staff Sergeant says, "All right, you guys are cut up tomorrow. We're gone. We're flying like birds."
Right.
It don't work that way now.
No.
You got to take care of not only you take care of your family at home, but you've got a family there and an obligation to those Marines. You know, you got to make sure they're ready, whether you're there until from daylight till dark or till way after dark.
You really see the Marines that you work for as your family.
Oh, absolutely. I told her this last trip that I went out on with the 31st MU, what I referred to them as
Your children.
my children. I said I was the oldest guy. You know, even Lieutenant OIC, he was several years younger than me.
Right.
And
Who'd you have?
Lieutenant Pogmeyer. Okay. He's Captain Pogmeyer now. He's out. He's in reserve, but he's activated right now. But great guy. But I referred to him in, you know, personal conversations as my children. You know, you got to take care of them, you know, because
right.
just like if they are your children, they're a reflection of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're a reflection of you as their leader, or that I guess more senior figure or whatever, you know. And you're impressionable on them. You know, they're going to take just like children. Not that I'm putting anybody, you know, some of those guys are smarter than I am for sure,
right.
As far, you know, from a educational standpoint. But yeah, it's, for me, in my opinion, Marine Corps is, if you're going to stick with the game, you got to be all in. You can't, it's not something you can do half-hearted. And
yeah.
and if you go into it all in, I think you know,
Like Sonny said the other night, all in all the time.
yeah, it's
No slack.
Yep, they just painted that on their wall over there or on their
Yeah.
door. But yeah, if you go in it half-hearted and you don't go all in, one, you're not going to be successful, and honestly, you're going to hurt the betterment of Marine Corps, the field we're in, the Ock field, and the people around you, because they're dependent on you to do your part. And if you're not all in, you're not doing everything you could be doing.
I agree with that. So if you had your way, who would you like to see me interview next?
Let's see. I don't know. I can name a few that would be interesting if you get the opportunity.
Who's that?
Are you looking for?
Who would Gunny Cross or Master Sergeant Cross? I'm sorry. I'd like to see me interview next.
I see we had some interesting conversations. You ever get the chance to interview old Doug Stubblefield?
Doug Stubblefield.
There's another guy that taught me a lot, because that dude had the experiences.
Stubbs.
Old Stubbs.
Yeah.
If you ever get the chance,
Stubbs.
I would listen to that eagerly.
Yeah.
When we knew the guy, or when I first met the guy,
Right.
He had been in and out of the Marine Corps already a couple times. Finally found a sticking point, when he came to 2600 route with us. Mm-hmm. And when we went on that MEU, I was slated to be the TL.
Yeah.
I was the team leader. And then
You got Debo.
you're like, they were bringing the staff sergeant in, and at the time, Captain Beetle, he said we're going to put him on. I don't know. You were probably involved with the conversation as well, but
Actually, I think that was a transition that was made before I became part of that MEU. Because you guys had a staff NCO, ops chief, and Master Sergeant,
right,
staff NCO. I see that got pulled off for separate reasons. One
Right.
was going to fleet up to be the two chief, and the other was going to be just pulled out.
Yep.
And I was going to come in and replace both of them at the same time as a boot staff sergeant.
yeah. So they said, hey, we got this guy coming in, and he's a staff sergeant. Said, we intend to put him out here, and he's got to be the TL. And at first I was like, you got to be damn kidding me. I was like, what? Because we had already went through a portion of the workup
Right.
and everything, and but it played out excellent, and I mean to a T. And looking back, I wouldn't have changed it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because he had, he was an older guy, considerably older than me, and
He was older than me.
yeah, and it played still, and that guy smoked Marlboro Reds like they're going out of style, and drink a bottle of rum a night, and still smoke me on a PFT. But anyways, it played out really well for us because, being a little bit older and having that experience, he was able to, we can only be as good as the unit we're attached to, we're
Right.
tied in with, and he was able to
3-8.
develop super good rapport with a lot of the guys in 3-8.
Fortuna Favet Fortibus.
And it worked really well for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So besides Stubbs, who else?
I think it'd be cool to I don't know. We need to find a master guns in the mix somewhere. Somebody that's at that pinnacle in our field. What's that?
I said, or a Mustang, somebody that was enlisted officer.
Yeah, that would be an interesting route as well to see that change over.
So I've been eyeballing Captain Boone.
Captain Boone, that would be. I would be eager to hear that one as well. Somebody that came up with us, and now moved over officer side. What kind of changes that entailed?
Right.
And even a chief warrant officer for that matter. But I think like Captain Boone, somebody that sat in the back of the Humvee with us for the longest time, and now he's a company commander.
Right.
To talk about how those changes, the things that changed for him, I think that'd be super cool to hear that. I'm trying to think of specific names, but shit, I'd be interested to listen to all of them. You don't need to listen
All
to
right.
them, but
I appreciate it.
But I think those for sure would be super interesting based off the changes that that they
That
saw.
they've had to undergo
Right.
as they transition in their careers. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, brother. And with that, I'm going to press mute. This has been Top Game, Episode 2. Thanks for joining us. And we're out.
Bye.